We've got Jackson Hole heading our way. For those of you who are unaware, we'll fill you in on what happens at Jackson Hole this week on The Rebel's Edge. Yeah. I tell you, this is as good as any Nike commercial, Pete. Look at those two proud women.
Oh, boy.
WNBA is a bunch of transphobic bigots.
It's not so black and white. And size doesn't
it's colorful. Yeah.
It's colorful. Now, do you want to see that?
That's
Do you
our
want to
model.
see people slamming on a 10-foot rim instead of a whatever rim, Pete? I do.
Okay. What does being a woman mean to you?
I'm all about it.
Buckets.
There's Ennis Freedom, and Royce, Pete. And the WNBA, I mean, ball is ball, as they say.
Oh, God.
That's the dumbest expression ever.
Yeah,
But,
yes.
you know, you push things too far, Pete, and then it comes back to haunt you. I think it's happening with the election. We'll see. I think it's happening with the WNBA. And it's very interesting that an awful lot of folks think if you can't really define what a woman is, maybe those could be women.
Oh,
I mean, look at them. They look like proud women that are ready to play in the WNBA.
This has gotten out of hand.
I tell you, he got kicked out of the Fever game, Pete. He was there to support Caitlin Clark. Ennis Freedom was. And did you meet him, Pete, when he was playing for the Celtics? Because I met him at CNBC.
No.
And good guy, really good guy. From Turkey, not a fan of Erdogan, you know, the leader of Turkey and so forth, and was very vocal about that, too. This is not the first cause that he's got behind. But we'll see how this plays out, folks. Sooner or later, the WNBA is going to have to define what that W means. And I'm all here for it. Pete, on the other hand, is more even-handed.
I'm somewhere in the,
Yeah. Well, welcome, folks. It is the 24th of August, and we're here to tell you about, well, we do indeed have Jackson Hole and their symposium coming our way. That Jackson Hole Symposium is where the Fed chairman and the various presidents from around the country of the individual Feds, they all get together in Jackson Hole. Why? I guess because it's a boondoggle. That's why. I mean, really, they couldn't do this over Zoom, Pete, or something else. But on the other hand, I don't imagine it's, you know, too many millions of dollars for the people that are determining exactly what is going to be happening with interest rates, which is, you know, a multi-trillion-dollar question. Right now in September betting, Pete, it is basically still 68% flat and a 32% chance of seeing basically a rate increase, because there were 3 Fed presidents that said, you know what, we think we should see a rate increase. I don't know how that stops anything about the crude oil price, Pete.
Yeah.
I don't, because that's where the inflation is.
100%.
But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
How about you, Pete? What do you have as far as macro and or the VIX today?
All right, so I'm going to start with the macro, and my macro side of it is, hey, man, we still have some earnings that are going to be very market moving and people are waiting for. And the biggest of them all has got to be Nvidia, right? And that's going to be coming Wednesday. So even though we've gotten all the way through this earnings season, you know, for the most part, all the biggest of the big have been there. There's a few of them still left, and Nvidia being one of them, and that's for this Wednesday. So that's going to be very interesting and curious for us. And I think also, John, I just wanted to point out this whole move in Bitcoin has been absolutely unbelievable, right? I mean, this thing couldn't get out of its own way. It was pressured down there for a while, down around call it 62,000 to 65,000, somewhere in that. And in 1 week, here we are at 79,000 for Bitcoin. So crypto, I think, is pretty daggone interesting. And as is what we're seeing happening right now with the VIX itself. The VIX has been very, very calm. The VXN extremely calm as well, which is the volatility for the NASDAQ. So the combination of both of those, John, I mean, when you take a look over at the VIX actually in the not too many days ago where we were all the way down into the 14s, and here we are now basically somewhere, call it between 15 and 16. But the movement is interesting, and the volatility index of the NASDAQ, the VXN, that's down 17% in the last month in terms of that measure as well. So volatility is a tougher thing to find, but we've started to see maybe our friend 50 Cent coming back into the play with the VIX itself, with some very, very large trades that have come in on the call side of things. So we'll see how that plays out as well.
Yeah, it's always smart to hedge when you can, not when you have to.
Yep.
And 50 Cent, whoever that trader is, man or woman, does come in and time those things pretty well. And they're called 50 Cent folks because traders on the floor would see those large trades coming in, and whether it was a single purchase of a call option or whether it was a call spread, they would always spend in the neighborhood of 50 cents on that. And they've been right an awful lot.
Yeah.
So, but it does appear to be a hedge by some multi-billion-dollar hedge fund, Pete.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, we'll keep our eye on it. How about this one, Pete? You mentioned Bitcoin. The prediction exchanges are betting on Bitcoin as well. And right now, we've seen a big jump in how much higher we expect Bitcoin prices to go. Because as you can see, there's $32 million bet on this, which isn't all that much. When Michael Saylor makes a trade, it's multiples of that. Nonetheless, on Kalshi, they do have Bitcoin price at the end of 2026. Back in May, it was going to be up close to the 90,000 range. Then it crashed all the way down into where it got to, basically 60,000, like Pete said. I think 58 or something like that might have been the lows. But then just in the last week, boom, to the upside. People are getting bullish on it again. But we would both caution you, our valued viewers, that the bets on Kalshi or Polymarket do pale in comparison to the actual money that's put onto Bitcoin on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind. This doesn't mean that this is a great predictor. It's just interesting to note the sentiment change. How about that, Pete?
Yeah. I think that says it all. Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, that just shows you how volatile it can be and how quickly these moves can happen. I mean, whether it's to the downside or the upside. But like you said, it does pale in terms of the sheer volume, the trades that are out there. There's no doubt about that.
Well, let's talk about Applied Optoelectronics, Pete. It's a developer of advanced optical and hybrid fiber coaxial networking products. In other words, they're sort of in the same kind of space as GLW, Corning, which makes Gorilla Glass, but they're also an optical networking giant. Well, these guys are pretty much a giant as well, Pete. And when you look at what they are all about, market cap's about $10 billion. So they're significantly smaller than GLW. But today we see them moving up, and basically they're going to, moving down rather, I misspoke, moving down rather dramatically, as much as 13, 14% right now at mid-session. Maybe it's 12% drop. They're going to be selling up to $600 million worth of stock through Raymond James and Needham. And does that dilute existing shareholders? It does. Depending what level they have to sell that stock down to generate $600 million in cash for the company, that's the thing that could cause the stock to either stop going down or to even rebound, unless it's that they had to sell the stock down a lot lower than where it is, which would mean it continues the drop.
Yeah, essentially, John, like you said, I mean, it's a bit of a dilution. A lot of people, that's the interpretation anyway that people are looking at here. By the way, in their most recent Q2, their revenue was up 86%, John, against competition in terms of the optical networking and that. It's interesting, and it's interesting to see that the stock was getting hit as hard as it was. It doesn't seem like it would be that market moving, but it has been, like you said. I mean, down about 13%, and that's what people are looking at. So, Raymond James, again, you look at these financial companies and how well they're doing, and you look at the investment banking side of these things and so forth, and then all of a sudden you see the opportunity here where, like you said, could it bounce back? And I think that's where it gets kind of interesting. This is a name that I think we ought to keep a pretty close eye on, John, because overall it seems to me that they're in a good space. However, obviously, anytime people start thinking they're getting diluted, they ain't too happy about that.
Well, we've got another stock, Pete. You mentioned Nvidia, and they have earnings on Wednesday after the bell. Marvell has earnings Thursday after the bell. And Marvell, they're looking for revenue growth of about 39%. So Pete talked about at the top of the show earnings and how well they've done. And they're way above street estimates. Nobody really goes out and says, yeah, I think they're going to earn 25% more than they did last year. That's a big jump. But some of these companies have been reporting earnings or revenue jumps, Pete, of as much as 100%, 120%. And we're not talking about a little micro cap. We're talking about revenue here for Marvell of maybe $2.7 billion. This is a real deal. And despite the fact that they've nearly tripled this year, and that's one thing I got to ask Pete to opine on, because Pete always likes looking at things into the earnings and says, can they actually exceed expectations if they've already tripled this year? I mean, we've got a lot of months left in the year, Pete. After August, this is our 8th month of the year. So we've got 3 months after August right now, or 4 months after August. We're looking for these guys to hold on to these gains, or do they have to pull back, Pete?
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's a great question. I don't know that I have a great answer. I mean, obviously, when you take a look at this stock, John, where is the 52-week high in the stock? Well, it's 329. Where is it trading right now? Call it around 2.25. So it had that big spike. You had that chart up there, and it showed it very nicely. Stock's down a little bit today. In April, it was an $88 stock, up 180% year to date. I mean, every number that you want to throw out there, you look at Marvell and you go, wow, these guys are just crushing it across the board. Now, that being said, it is a ways off of what those 52-week highs were of 329. So I think it's something that, are we looking at a time right now with the economic conditions are a little bit questionable for some people. Inflation concerns are still something that's weighing on stocks. People talking about AI, talking about the semiconductors, all the rest of this stuff, the chips and everything. And analysts that are out there, some of them at least, are still raising some of their price targets as well. So for a stock that has tripled, I think people are watching very closely on this name, just like they are with Nvidia. We'll get Nvidia first, and then we'll get Marvell the following day. It's going to be interesting, John, to see what those two, and they are both very impressive companies, but what are they going to say, and what are the numbers they're going to put up? And I think that's something that people, I'll tell you what, I would bet you that on Wednesday, things are a little bit slow as people are trying to figure out how they want to position themselves, if they want to position themselves in that stock, Nvidia, or the following day with Marvell. Should be pretty interesting.
Well, I've got another interesting one for you, Pete. So the president is back on his tariff. He loves to tariff people. He just loves it. And apparently, the negotiations with Canada didn't go so well. And I half think, Pete, that he really likes it when they don't go well, because then he can say, all right, 50% on your cars. How do you like that? Of course, they don't like it, because Canada is small potatoes compared to us. But they have a robust automotive industry up in Canada. A lot of our vehicles that are sold down here, Pete, are assembled not just in Detroit, but up in Canada, down in Mexico, in South Carolina, in Mississippi. I mean, it is spread out a little more than it used to be, but Canada has really done very well for its workers by virtue of having all that work up there. But since the president is talking about throwing a 50% tariff at them, Pete, that caused steel stocks in particular, because they'll be the next things he goes after probably. Cleveland Cliffs, CLF, New, which is Nucor, NUE, and Steel Dynamics, STLD, all to the upside. And we actually had some pretty good unusual activity in CLF. This was when it was a $10 stock, folks. It went through $12.33 in the first few minutes of trading today. Now it's eased off a little, but it's still trading, I think, about 1180, 1190, right in that range, Pete.
Yeah.
Up dramatically from where it was when these calls were purchased, these upside calls. So somebody had a little inkling and they made a little money on this one.
Yeah, I think so. You know, these U.S. steel producers, John, there's a lot of strength. We know that there's demand, the strong demand that's out there, and we know that, you know, all of that. So when you look at some of the analysts out there and they're maintaining their ratings, but they are shifting around a little bit what their price targets are. So, you know, that's something that is interesting. So they are indeed still very, in most cases, fairly bullish. But they might either bring down the price targets, or maybe they raise them up. But they're, you know, depending on which analyst you want to listen to and which stock that they're talking about, whether it's, you know, and it's Wells Fargo was one of them for sure. But it's a very, very interesting time for those steel stocks, John. And I think that you know, does he go through with this whole thing? Is it a for sure thing? Is it, you know, I mean, people will all be asking all those kind of questions about this thing as well. But there is no doubt at all that there still is an incredible amount of demand. And because of that, I think this bodes well for the three that you just were talking about, Steel Dynamics, Nucor, as well as Cleveland Cliffs. So, yeah, seeing a little bit of a move to the upside for the most part.
Well, let's close it out today, Pete, on the stock side with SanDisk, because, you know, semiconductor and memory stocks, this is how it works, folks. You've got SK Hynix, one of the biggest companies in all of South Korea and a very significant player in semiconductors. You've got them trading to the downside. All of a sudden, everything, all those margin accounts that we've talked about and so forth, start getting hit again. And it's going to hit Micron, it's going to hit AMD, it's going to hit SanDisk, it's going to hit Samsung. All of these stocks, you know, they don't move just one at a time. They all move together in concert, as they say. And the good news is this one has rallied $60 off the low of the day, Pete. But the bad news is they're still down 7% so far today. So there's definitely pressure. But as that pressure eased a little bit, that's why you saw the NASDAQ cut its losses in half for the day.
Well, here's the craziest thing, John. I don't know the last time I saw something like this, or the first time, or any kind of a time, but in the last year, SanDisk is up 3,000%. I mean, you can't make it up. I mean, it's just that crazy, right? So you've got that. You're up 500% year to date in the stock. So the idea that maybe there's a little bit of taking some off, or, you know, making that kind of a decision, especially you and I this past week, at the very end of the week, actually, we were talking with our good friend Connell McShane over at News Nation, and we were talking about AI and what it really meant and what's really happening right now in that, you know, and what could happen to the markets if, for some reason or another, we see AI start to ease back and data centers not getting built and all that kind of a thing. So, you know, there's a reason for some volatility there. There's no doubt about that. And it's going to be a very, very interesting time. But, you know, we have seen some selling with the semis. We've seen some of the selling with the memory, but is that some profit taking just to put a little something off after an ungodly move to the upside that people just don't see very often? And it's interesting because there's so many new people into the markets, John, younger people coming into the markets every day. And everywhere I go, and I'm sure everywhere you go, you get stopped by somebody. I get stopped more often these days with people that are probably between 20 and maybe 35. And they're talking about the markets. And why? Because A, it's interesting. B, they see some of the numbers that have been going up there and they want to be a part of it, but they want to be smart about it. And I think hopefully we can give them some of those ideas on what would be smart, which would be, hey, if the stock doubles or the options double, you might want to take some off. That's just sort of something that you might want to think about. But it is an amazing time right now, and anything involved with AI and the infrastructure and all these different things that we talk about all the time ad nauseum, it is a very interesting time, and it could get volatile if we start to see something. And Matt, that's why I think this week, John, with Nvidia and Marvell, giving us their earnings. That's going to give us a little bit of a peak because they are later than a lot of those other names that we talk about all the time who delivered, more than a month ago now with their earnings.
Right. Well, SanDisk is one of those, Pete, where the stock's been around a while and they do a lot of things really, really right. And I guess it was like a coiled spring because when all of a sudden everybody wanted what they had, just like when everybody wanted the GPUs that Nvidia has, it was just more demand, and supply and demand. We talk about it all the time. If you have that much demand and the supply is limited, prices have to go up, profitability has to go up, and just look at what the stock's done. All right, let's take a look at a little sports video, Pete.
I love this.
Because, behind me here, we got the sports book at Circa out in Vegas, but this is a quarterback that Pete talked about a lot, and I agreed with him, but I'm not going to take credit for it. Pete should. This is a quarterback from Minnesota State, Moorhead. What? In other words, this is a D2 school.
Yeah.
But this quarterback has D1 potential, and now it looks like he might be Atlanta's savior, Pete, since Tua and Penix are both, on the IR, it seems, more often than they're on the field. So let's take a look and a listen.
Do you understand that last night made it official? The Falcons found their Brock Purdy, their new starting quarterback. Because instead of using the transfer portal, he stayed at Minnesota
Physically
State
different.
Moorhead Division II. He goes undrafted. The Falcons pick him up, and now he's reminding them of Matt Ryan. The guy is 6'4", 240 pounds, and he is dominating this offseason. Last night's game, no Tua, no Penix. So what does he do? He has 234 yards and 2 touchdowns. Look, here's the reality. Tua's not playing well. We all know this. Michael Penix is out here clowning Tua. Meanwhile, brother, you're not even healthy yourself still. That's why the Falcons have the lowest odds to win the division on Kalshi, not the rest of the team. It's the quarterback situation. Guess who is healthy? Guess who is playing well? Guess who has the best physical tools of any QB in the quarterback room? This man, Jack Strand. And by the way, if you want more stories like this that the national media is not talking about, make sure you're following. I'm telling you, the more I go back and watch
this guy gets excited. I love him.
About him, his loyalty, not transferring away. I really think he could be the next Brock Purdy. He's got it. Do you understand?
Except for physically, he's not Brock Purdy. He is
bigger,
even bigger and stronger and faster and athletic. And John, this kid, this is the kind of guy you want on your team. And here's what I mean by that. So he was at Division II. We all know that storyline already, Minnesota State Moorhead. However, there were schools trying to steal him away from them. They were like, hey, man, how about you get in the transfer portal? This guy's a team player. He's stuck with where he was, 6'5", by the way, and 240 pounds. Can he run with the football? Yeah, he's very much, not to compare too much, but Josh Allen. He can run. He's athletic. He's big as hell. Has a cannon for an arm. He also has good touch. So, but the difficult part, and I do get this, the difficult part for the folks in the NFL is, yeah, but he's in D2, so he's going against D2 players, right? And so you just wonder, where is he at the next level? Well, he's starting to show a lot of people where he probably is at the next level, at the next level at NFL. I mean, so he's big, he's strong, does an amazing job, 64% completion guy, John, on 1,950 passes. I mean, the guy played 42 games. You look at almost any stat you want, you say, wow, that's pretty good. That's pretty impressive. That's damn good. I mean, and this kid's way up there, damn near at the Canadian border up here in Minnesota. So interesting to see this whole thing. Jack Strand is a special kid. Do you think, John, that there's any chance, not just to play, but at some point, if the guys in front of them don't get hurt, but they're not executing properly, I'm thinking they might want to look what Strand maybe can do in a real NFL game. What about you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, and I know Tua's a great player, Pete, but he's been in concussion protocol so many times. It's probably better for him if he doesn't play.
Yeah.
But I don't wish that on him. I mean, if it were me and I was in concussion protocol as often as him, I'd still want to play. But at some point, hopefully he doesn't keep getting worse. And, as far as Penix, great quarterback. Penix was fabulous. Wasn't he at Indiana, Pete? And then he transferred to Washington?
I think
before the coach went there.
Mhm.
I think he was at Indy. It was either at Purdue or Indiana, Pete. I think
he did bounce around a little bit too, John. I don't even I
Yep.
think he might have been at maybe 3 schools during his career. And and how about
Well,
these? we'll talk
heck
later
of a
in the
player.
Yeah.
Heck of a player. But again, the injuries stack up
Yeah.
for both those two guys. So not to wish them anything but great success, but I think this kid could stand up behind a line and take a hit. Not that we want him to get hurt too, but I think this is one of the pieces that Atlanta's been missing.
Yeah.
And I bet Arthur Blank, Pete, the owner of the team, has something to say about, hey, we kind of got a lot of damaged goods here, boys. We better hold on to this kid. I guarantee you, if they didn't hold on to him, Pete, he won't clear waivers. Not after that game. He will not clear waivers. Somebody would claim him like that. So he's going to be on the roster. Like you say, it's just a question of when he starts. But I think he will start this year.
And they got a good running back, or great running back. They got a bigger and solid offensive line. They got a great tight end. They've got some amazingly large, good receivers. So the pieces are there. Now the piece to the puzzle that they've been missing, like you're saying, though, is quarterback. And, they've had a lot of injuries over the last few years. There's no doubt about it. And you know what? You never know when those are going to come along. But this guy's a lot bigger, which means maybe he can take a little bit more punishment, and the injuries are a little different if he gets those. But I'm sure he's buying the offensive line. If he gets announced as the starter, he'll be buying the offensive line meals on Saturdays and Fridays and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
All right, John.
But it'll be just like Purdy there, though, Pete.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have the scratch. The offensive line could buy and sell him. Because, as a free agent, I know a thing or two about free agent contracts. They're not the same. Just look at Purdy. I mean, he broke the bank when he finally got paid. But in the meantime, that guy could barely scrape together 2 nickels.
Yeah. The guys in college are making like 5 times his money, John, which is crazy. All right. Speaking of one of those guys, I decided, after taking a long look at this, I was flying the other day and I was doing this, doing that. I had a little bit of time and I wanted to, break up what I was doing financially and looking at some sports stuff. I think the Texas Longhorns are going to go into the national title game this year, John, if not win it, maybe. And here's why I say that. This is like the first year that they've gotten this far. So as far as Arch Manning, I think, is the real deal. I know he's got the last name and everybody talks about him because of the family and everything else. But you know what? The kid's big. He's strong. He's fast. He's a very smart guy when it comes to leading the offense. And here was a couple other things, John. They have wide receivers there that are outrageously good, have unbelievable hands. All you got to do is scan through Twitter and you'll see some of the videos of some of that stuff. Offensive line, top tier offensive line. They have 13 returning starters coming back. 77% of the production of the offense is back. 65% of the production of the defense is back. So because of that, John, I'm looking at this and I'm like, you know what? I know how good Ohio State is. They're great, right? You can say the same thing about Bama, and you know I've been really pushing Oklahoma as well, and then you could say it about Georgia. I mean, there's a lot of different schools you can pull out there, of course, Oregon. But I'll tell you, there's something about Texas where I think they've brought back enough guys, and this might be their time. And you know, watching how Arch Manning handles himself, and he's not some cocky kid who you know, everybody's like, oh, well, yeah, here he is. He's legit, and he's really, really good, and he's athletic. And if you saw that, really, the one run that he had that was amazing was he tucked the ball. He was getting surrounded by all kinds of players and decided to run it. And you saw his speed. I mean, the guy actually can do pretty much everything. So I'm looking forward to it. But what do you think? Am I nuts to think Texas is a team that can win the national title?
No. Not nuts at all. They clearly could. And a lot of us, meaning me, not Pete, thought that maybe Arch was overrated because I saw a lot of the teams that he played against, Pete, at Newcomb or whatever the private school was in New Orleans, that has produced a lot of real players, but the teams they play against, some of them are, you know, really pathetic. And on the other hand, when he went up to Ohio State, he didn't look good, Pete, that, you know, when they went up to Ohio State. But, you know, he's matured. Quint Ewers played ahead of him. And, you know, I think this kid has just gotten better and better and better. And he's probably worked with some great coaches, not just his uncles that were both all pro,
right?
Because he's not Peyton's son. Peyton's son is going to be playing, but it's not Peyton's son and it's not Eli's son, Pete. It's their brother's son. Yeah. The brother that was a great player, but then had to give up football because of some sort of malady, I guess, that he had either with his heart, I think it was, Pete, or something like that. So he instead just manages their money.
Not so bad.
He does pretty well. Yeah, he does pretty well.
Two clients that give you pretty much everything you need, right?
Yeah, especially those Manning brothers. Can you watch a commercial that doesn't have those two guys in it? If it's not those two guys, it's the Kelsey brothers, or it's us.
Yeah. It's not an option.
Bum. So I think Arch is ready to come out this year, Pete. And I certainly hope that he plays up to his potential because the kid has all the tools, truly all the tools. And Texas is loaded. Like you said, 13 of the 22 players are back. So that bodes well for them.
Yeah.
Well, I'd say, folks, we're going to keep our eye on Nvidia and how it trades into its earnings. Again, 2 days hence, Wednesday, and then 3 days hence, we've got Marvell. Won't have quite the same impact, of course, but nonetheless, it will say a lot about demand. Both of those will. But Nvidia is the really, really important one. And I guess it depends how many of those GPUs Elon's still buying too, Pete. Because he bought 200,000 of them last year for Colossus 1 and for, what is he called? I love that he calls his other Colossus 2, he calls it macro hard instead of micro soft. Look it up, folks.
Classic.
Look it up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Elon's got a sense of humor.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Pete, we'll see everybody tomorrow at what time?
1 p.m. Eastern. We'll see you again. We're on the road. We're here. We're there, but it's going to be great.
Bang. See you then.